would have read back in the early 90s, we'll say, this agenda in detail, right? So it's been planned out from under the United Nations Agenda 21.
Right.
And a lot of documents, right, which was published in 1992, but there was precursors. So when I read it, and it goes on till 2099, right? 2100, this next 80 years, right?
Yes.
And partly in that, and you can look up the population part of the United Nations, right? The Agenda 21 is part of the United Nations. And so when I read it in the 90s and saw that they had planned for Ireland, so we had around 4 million people then, and they said by 2020, Ireland would have 5 million people, right? An extra million people, which they were right. And that by the end of 2025, Ireland was planned to have, right?
That's not all due to old age, right?
No, and then you can see that a lot of the English-speaking countries, there was a ranking for the sharp drop, and we'll say in Ireland it was 78%, and in the United Kingdom it was around to go from 60 million, I think, to 12 million people, right? But particularly of 2020 to 2025, right? So this is, and it's the same now, most of the countries that are would be English speaking, right? And so the numbers are different for Africa and South America. So I suppose the thing is we have beautiful immune systems, and this is the 9th or 8th. The next one that's coming, they're going to call Marburg, which is a type of Ebola, which I talked about last year in their agenda of having multiple pandemics. And so what it will be, it could be that the symptoms of the next influenza will give bleeding, like you say, and the Marburg virus causes hemorrhagic fever, which is bleeding, and that they have another PCR test developed by Bill Gates, and they have another aluminium, which is a neurotoxin, and ricin, R-I-C-I-N, which is one of the top 5 most toxic things on the planet. Okay, and that is allegedly for Marburg, which may be the next one. And so what we have to see is a lot of the adverse events they are labeling as the.
So right now I'm just making a very brief video about this Marburg that is going on in Equatorial Guinea, what it is and what it is not. And the prophecy that I will be referring to is from June 9, 2022. And it is called Behold a Pale Horse, Part 2. So there is a Part 1 to this prophecy. All prophecies that deal with medical issues, plague, sickness, and things like that. Bless the Lord. Those prophecies were here on the Master's Voice for over a year. This disease will be one of many diseases. It will be part of what the Lord has called rolling sicknesses. Rolling sicknesses. There is a prophecy on the Master's Voice called Disease and Decay in America. And in that prophecy, I saw forward to a time when we always had pandemics. I saw forward to a time where it was a way of life. So this man says that plagues should be kept no more than a year apart. He says that plagues ideally should roll upon one another back to back to back, no more than a year apart, so that they feel like birth pains, and so that people should be cut down like trees in the wind. And immediately after this, the word Marburg came to me, and I saw a newspaper that was announcing the rise and spread worldwide of the Marburg fever. And his words were, Behold a pale horse. And the scripture is this, Revelation 6 and 8. I looked, and behold, a pale horse. The name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with pestilence, and with the beasts of the earth. A 4th part of the earth means that you number everybody living today, and then you subtract 1/4 that will go down with fighting, that will go down with hunger, that is famine, that will go down with pestilence, that is these diseases and rolling sicknesses, and that will go down with the savagery of the beasts of the earth. Multiple diseases will hit countries. The things that the Lord has given me here on the Master's Voice are not things that are just going to leap out of the woodwork as soon as they come out of my mouth. And then you think, well, there has to be like a 2 or 3 month linear period at best, unless it's not a real prophecy. Prophet Daniel died and only saw parts of his prophecy fulfilled. He never lived to see many of the things that will only take place in the final times. John the Revelator, the person who wrote the entire book of Revelation, he never lived to see a single thing come to pass. All of his prophecies shall be fulfilled in our times, for we are in the final times, the times of the end. You are not a Christian because of the number of years you have spent in the church. You are not a Christian because of the number of years that you have gone to a fellowship. You are only a Christian when the old you has died. And the new you is in the process of being built up like a monument in this earth to the skies to glorify the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords.
The things she's talking about, it's like you can't make this stuff up. You know what I mean? You can't make it up, right? And like one of the things that like I am like traumatized. I just want everybody to know, if anyone cares to check on me. I am traumatized. Like I don't even know how to function anymore. And okay, let me try to get this out. She's talking about, I'm going to put it somewhere on here because at this point we're being recorded. I'm convinced that they are watching. And so I'm just going to put their names somewhere over here. Okay, so she is saying, she at one point she said, you're going to have to learn this language right here so that you can plead for your life. I am like traumatized. I just want everybody to know, if anyone cares to check on me. I am traumatized. Like I don't even know how to function anymore. And
Imagine this thing breaking out at a school that your child goes to. Just think about that and then multiply it to all the schools and multiply it to all the states and then multiply it to Canada and South America. And everybody else is seeing this thing as people flee to their parents' houses, not knowing that they have it, and carry it to another state. When you're talking about viral hemorrhagic fevers, this is not an easy way to pass away. This is shortness of breath. This is muscle aches and pain. This is bleeding from every orifice. This is a horrible and isolating way to die. This is not the kind of disease where if you get it, your family can gather around your bedside and hold your hand as you cross over into non-aliveness. This is not the kind of thing that builds community. This is not the kind of thing that allows community. And so it is a deliberately isolating, painful, devastating way to lose life. And because it is so contagious and because it is so dangerous, if it gets out of hand and it begins to hop person to person in a community, very soon, like we saw with Ebola a few years ago, I think it was in 2014, the way it ravaged and was just hopping across nations in West Africa and had the whole of Africa in a panic, had the whole of Africa doing shutdowns and lockouts.